For the past several months, Ukraine has been at the tip of the tongue of practically the whole world. We Ukrainians have received support from many countries, support that came and still comes in a form of money, medical supplies and equipment, weapons, shelter for our fellow Ukrainians abroad, food, job opportunities, governmental support from other countries, word spreading at myriads of events, celebrity support, economic sanctions against Russia, and this is not an exhaustive list. While we Ukrainians have been fighting for our freedom and the security of the whole world, you, the people of many countries, have stood by us and gave us a hand in our time of need, and for that we are forever grateful. So please watch until the end of this video because I have a little gift for you as a way to say thank you for your help. With all of this support, you're also spending your time, money, and energy. And I get that, it is costing you. On top of that, when horrific events such as war happens, in our case a full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia, we collectively as human beings go into a full survival mode trying to overcome the attack. As a result, we spent enormous amount of energy and time doing that, and it just simply takes a toll on our bodies. And simply put, we burn out physically and emotionally. Consequently, our minds start to avoid anything that is associated with the burnout. In our particular case, that is the news about Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, the struggling Ukrainians, the never-ending death count of civilians, children. All of that is considered negativity in our brain, and we just simply start to avoid it. This happens to all of us, regardless of the magnitude of the tragedy. Our mind simply needs a break. You cannot help perpetually. You need to replenish yourself in order to be able to give back. Moreover, the same thing happens whenever something extraordinary happens in our lives. We get excited for a couple of days and then it's old news. Fortunately, and at the same time unfortunately, this is just how our mind functions. We can't keep our focus 100% of the time on anything. So in that regard, guys, I get it. I understand you. You are tired about the never-ending news of war in Ukraine, and you have your own problems to worry about and your own lives to live. That is why I would like to give you a different outlook on the topic, so you would perceive the news about Ukraine differently, and this nightmare would end for all of us, and you would have a peace of mind as well. When Ukraine is being discussed abroad, whether that's in the news, social media, or among people, a lot of emphasis is being put on helping Ukrainians. But when time passes by and the problem doesn't seem to go away, people tend to think the following. Well, I've done my part, now it's really up to them to take care of the rest. You know, whoever wants to help out, feel free to do so. I have my own life to live, plus Russia is not invading my country and it's somewhere far away from me, so yeah, we're pretty good here. But in reality, the root cause of why you guys are constantly hearing bad news about Ukraine is Russia. You see, we should all be concerned about helping Ukraine as much as possible because it's in our mutual interest, yours and ours, and I will explain about that in just a moment, but we also at the same time should be concerned as much about stopping Russia. This raises the question of why you should be helping Ukraine, right? Because it's costing you. Look, you've probably heard about millions of times about the atrocities that have happened in Ukraine because of Russia's invasions, right? And to be honest, these atrocities are not stopping. Civilians are being killed at home with their children, they're being killed out on the street while waiting for the bus stop, and all of this is done by Russia, and you've heard about that. I've talked a lot about this in my previous video, you can check it out, but you know, civilians are being killed, and just a recent example, on July 29th, there was a hostage camp with Ukrainian soldiers that Russia blew up, just like that, against all war ethics. They're continuing to kill us. For some of you, stories like these will prompt you to act more firmly and give more support to us, while for others, this will be just another overwhelming story that definitely will not push you to dedicate more time and energy to help us resolve it. That's why the angle I'm coming from is that these events are costing you whether you ignore them or not. It's costing you in high gas prices, it's costing you in currency inflation, especially for European countries where euro is weakening against the dollar. It's costing you in donations you give to Ukraine. It's costing you in the products you buy in your country. It's costing you through taxes with the military support you're giving us. It's costing you through the financial support you're giving us. And the most interesting part is that we are not the root cause of your expenses. Russia is. Russia was a big player on the global market and the world economies were heavily tied with the Russian economy. Now that the financial and economic trades are being cut off with Russia more and more, it impacts you, a regular citizen that is being added with more cost to your normal way of living. And for some countries that heavily depend on the products that are being imported from Ukraine, it's a matter of life and death. And these costs that you are bearing and this economic downtrend will continue for as long as we collectively, as citizens of this world, will continue to let Russia terrorize us. Whether that's through direct military invasion like it is in our case, or by disrupting the world economy through their actions. As long as Russia is able to attack Ukraine and continue this war, the world economy will spiral in a downtrend, and an ordinary person like you will continue paying more out of their pocket for the same products and services that you used to buy at a cheaper price. My point is this: for those of you who are sticking to the very end in this fight and you are trying to stop the Russian attack on Ukraine, and you see a direct correlation with what Russia is doing to all of us through this war, then you and I are probably on the same page in the things that I've mentioned in this video. And I would like to thank you on behalf of all Ukrainians for the continuous support that you're giving us and for your stance on this matter. However, there are the rest of you who are just tired of this war. You cannot take it anymore. Even with all the support that you've given, you just want to make it go away somehow. And there are also those of you who think that Russia did not invade your country, so why should you care, right? But even if you think this way, you are still paying the price. Even if you don't care about the deaths of thousands of Ukrainians, you are still paying the price. Even if you tricked yourself into thinking that Russia is currently weak and it doesn't pose a global threat, which is not true, by the way, you are still paying that price. You see, Russia is not weak, it's just hurt, because the spirit of Ukrainian soldiers turned out to be too hard for them to crack. And the support that you provided us with continues to hurt them and lessens the chances for all of us to get hurt, you and I, whether that's physically, emotionally, or financially. So, whether you are directly or indirectly affected by Russia's destructive, terroristic, genocidal behavior, you are paying the price for this war that Russia has started. Ukrainian children, civilians, and soldiers are paying it with their lives, and you are paying it with your money, attention, and time. If you do not agree to continue paying that price, here's an example of what you can do. You can continue by being involved in the events that are happening in Ukraine as of now, by spreading the truth on your social media, by calling your fellow citizens and followers to action, and by pressuring your government to continue to supply military support to Ukraine. Because as of now, military opposition is the only true way of stopping Russia. Ukraine is alone on the battlefield. Yes, we have a lot of volunteers and veterans from all over the world fighting together with us, and we are grateful for that. But none of the big players, NATO, US, or the Great Britain, will do the fighting for us. So it all comes down for us to getting as armed as possible, because boy, I tell you that, the odds are pretty damn uneven. Where we have one artillery system, Russia has 20. Where we have one soldier, Russia has 4. Where we have one rocket system, Russia has 6, and so on and so forth. So for us to get even, we need support from multiple countries, and we need a consistent supply of military equipment for us to have an advantage on the battlefield and to end this war quicker. As mentioned previously, we are getting a lot of support from you guys, but the most critical component is the far-reaching missiles. These are the types of missiles that Russia is using on us daily. And unfortunately, in our military arsenal, we don't have those systems, so we need those rocket systems in order to be reaching the enemy hundreds of kilometers deep. A great example of those is the recently supplied rocket system from the US called HIMARS. These systems are allowing us to reach the enemy up to 70 kilometers, but that is still not enough because the Russian troops are using equipment that is reaching us for thousands of kilometers. So, for us to be able to go into a counterattack and push out the Russian troops out of Ukraine, we need those kind of systems. This is just one of the examples of the equipment we need. It's definitely not an exhaustive list. And ironically enough, for us to get it, we need your support of ordinary citizens. Because if your government sees that you are concerned with the war in Ukraine and you are pressuring them to supply this kind of equipment, they would be acting more firmly and rapidly. If we would have had the HIMARS rocket systems even a couple of months back, we would be closer to ending this war. But as always, for political reasons, these decisions are delayed. For each country, you have your own type of equipment that is needed for us to end the war. And it is up to you to act firmly and consistently in order for us to get that equipment. If you're tired of this war, if you're tired of paying the price, then please start acting accordingly. Start raising your voice in your country so that your governments would not hinder the supply process of vitally crucial military equipment that could make a difference on the battlefield for our collective fight for freedom and prosperity. Whatever you do, please don't stop raising awareness, whether that's through your social, the news outlets, verbally among friends and family, petitions to your government, or financial support. If you do not know how to do any of that, join your local support group that have been specifically organized to help Ukraine stop Russia, a terrorist country. There is a support group in many countries, or if you don't have one locally, go online and find one. Whatever you do, please do not ignore the matter, or you will continue paying even a higher price in the future. The war is far from over. At the same time, I am convinced of our victory, and it's only a matter of time that we will win. I am sure of it. But the supply of military support to Ukraine by many countries is the key to this solution that will help us solve the problem, end deaths, and stop the destruction of the world's economy. Ukrainians are dying every day, so that all you would have to do is pay the price with your money, attention, and time, and not your freedom and your life. Thank you for watching, everyone. As promised in the beginning of this video, I have a little gift for everyone who's been actively participating and supporting Ukraine. All you need to do is comment down below with a link to your social media account that shows your support for Ukraine. I will randomly choose 5 winners, and each of those 5 winners will get an NFT that me and my friends have created to support Ukraine since the beginning of this war, as well as a cool looking hoodie like this that I will personally ship to your address. Thank you for your commitment in this fight for freedom and democracy. Slava Ukraini!